I took really a lot of responsibility around what I was assigned to do, right? To make sure the hotel ran well during the night audit, that there was processes in place and so forth. And that was my first step, I think, into the leadership, into my leadership journey. After that, I progressed to Oracle about 15 years ago. I started as a project manager and I was leading projects. I was leading accounts and leading projects. I was not leading people at that point in time. And then through that journey of leading projects and finding really a desire to want to lead people, I transitioned into that management role. And that was really powerful for me to come to that decision that I wanted to lead people, because leading people is, I think, a very special role in any organization. At that point in time, you care about your employees, you want to help them grow and get to the next level. So it was not something I took lightly, and which really helped me get to the next step. So after I made that decision from leading projects or initiatives into leading people, which is where I've been for the last 13 years. Thereafter, through discovery, through the years of helping those around me grow in their careers, is where it's led me now, which my role now is responsible for global training and development of our roles within consulting. And I really feel like I found my home. I'm in my kind of like my third phase of leadership now. Now I walk into work every day, I feel fulfilled. I work on helping others develop and train their skills and help their career growth. So to answer the question, I think I've always known that I had that deep desire to be a leader, but I went from leading individual tasks and projects and initiatives into now leading people and helping them grow in their careers.
What an amazing progression and a great story. I really love the part about you finding your voice and realizing that you wanted to be heard. I think
Yeah.
probably everybody here today can empathize with that. And it's also really cool that you started truly in the hospitality industry and
Mhm.
working at a hotel, because I think that also echoes with a lot of the people that we have here attending this panel today.
Great.
So our next question, we're going to send over to Tashi. Now this one's a little bit loaded. Describe both your biggest joy and your biggest challenge as a leader.
Yeah, good question. And I'm glad I had this one in advance because I was like, holy crap. But I'm actually going to answer the challenging part first, because I think it is, I was really thinking about this a lot, and leadership is hard. It is hard. It is hard work. You have to really show up every day and be really thoughtful about how you approach, every situation, every scenario, to, be authentic in how you deliver and set the stage for what you want your team and the people around you to deliver. So I think probably I boiled it down to three most challenging parts. I think that not compromising on my expectations around the people around me and the people above and beside me, and holding true to what I believe to be the way forward and the way that we should have our deliverables and have conversations and interact with others, but also at the same time being realistic that everybody is not like me, thank goodness. And it's important to get to know what drives those around us, and actually taking time to have those conversations and to then take that information and tweak whatever approach it is, whether it's with a customer or with an employee or with a manager, in a meaningful way that really gets you to move forward in the direction that is important for you and the organization. So that's one, not compromising on expectations. I think the second one is really challenging for me. It still is probably today, is figuring out how to give really good balanced feedback, because I think that being a leader and setting the expectation of, okay, here's our vision, I want to influence and inspire, you have to really help people, show them the way. And if you aren't able to give that feedback in a constructive, meaningful way, then it's really hard to have those expectations that you probably have met, as well as get the people around you to really believe in where you're headed. And I think last is, putting yourself out there and putting myself out there and being vulnerable, being ready to, be authentic in every interaction. And gosh, that can take a lot of energy, and holding true to what you want to believe in, and knowing that it's going to create conflict, and being ready for, personally, I'm not a fan of conflict, so I'm happy to not have it, but being ready to be like, no, this is what I believe in. Let's talk it out, and let's be stronger for having this hard conversation, and really standing up for those. So to me, those are the most challenging parts about being a leader. And I think on the joy side is feeling like I'm accomplishing and chipping away at those challenging parts, right? So it's kind of feeding in kind of a vicious cycle, if you will, of knowing what's challenging, but being able to work through it and being fulfilled about, okay, I really did good today. I showed up, and I had grit, and I was able to have that hard conversation, and I'm seeing results about, being able to be authentic and true to myself and my values. So that's what I would say about that. Courtney?
Well, I love it. And as Tashi probably mentioned, she's very new to Oracle. And so we're very pleased with how she's navigating all of the many challenges of not only being in a leadership role, but being in a leadership role at a new company, and in a brand new position. And of course, we all know one of the many characteristics of a leader is confidence. So Paula, let's talk a little bit about confidence. What strategies are you using to build confidence, not only in yourself, but also to inspire confidence in your team members?
Okay, so first of all, I want to second everything that Toshi said. So copy paste everything that she said. The thing is, I feel when people talk about confidence, right, they do expect that all leaders have that born confidence, that everybody is their, oh, my fierce leader, they thrive. Nobody's confident, okay? Everybody's afraid from the moment that they wake up to the moment they go to sleep. Everybody's afraid when they're gonna position themselves, when they have a decision to make. There's always that fear that you're gonna make the wrong decision, that you're gonna say the wrong thing. Confidence, I would say, that is a romantic way of putting results of courage. Like when you put yourself out there, when you remember that the risks are worth it, and the result of that, it looked like you were confident enough to do it, but actually it was more courage than confidence. For my team, what I like to do normally is listen to them. Sometimes they have something to say, and they come with the wrong words, and they come at the wrong moments, and they come with the wrong feelings, right? And even though just by observing that they are quiet, or that they didn't understand something, asking them to express themselves, build that courage in them so they can say something and position themselves better. And I think that translates in confidence. So so when I received that question before, I said confidence is a really funny word, and I do judge those that say, I'm confident, I can do anything I can. You women, you are confident, you can rule a home and you can do everything you want. It's so much underneath the word confidence, right? And it is okay to be afraid. It is okay to be fearful of results. It is okay to have the little heartburn before a tough meeting. It is okay to check and recheck the risks of anything that you say. But most important, don't give up, right? And I think that is, if you feel in your gut that that is important, something that you have to do, just do it. And I think my team relies on that and understands that they have the opening for that. So that builds confidence in them as well.
Excellent. I really like your perspective there. It's confidence is not being fearless, it's having fears, but facing them and putting yourself out there. And in many cases, listening to other people to help inspire them. which I love. Listening is very important. We all know that. All right, now let's go back to Desiree. You told us an amazing story about your journey to leadership, a journey that you're still on.
Yep.
Do you have any advice for the people in our audience today who are looking to pursue a leadership role?
Yeah. This is going to be a two-part answer. So if you're looking to pursue leadership of managing people, of being responsible for people and investing your time, I think you want to do it for the right reasons and make sure that that your heart's in it, right? That you have the time and you have the ability to invest and support in your employees and your team. As I mentioned in my previous answers, I think for my particular journey is agreeing to or realizing that I wanted to have a team, that I wanted people to follow me and be that manager of people. It was a really powerful thing for me because I had to decide, am I going to give it my all to build my employees up? So that's really important to make sure that that's what you want. But in any case, if your journey, your particular leadership journey doesn't include managing people or managing an initiative, whatever it may be, I think that being passionate is really important, passionate about what you believe. If whatever it is, whether it's a business initiative, whether it is an idea that you have, just be passionate and give it your all. And be ambitious, right? Being a go-getter is important, and that's different levels, I think. Like Paula mentioned, there are different levels of being confident, right? You're a go-getter, and then there's just different levels to it, but find your own way, find your voice is really important. I think also courage was mentioned, and that's really funny because my little one, my 3-year-old, yesterday, she's scared of noises, and there was a really loud noise, and she's, Mom, I'm afraid. And I said, have courage. It's going to be okay. Move on. And she totally forgot about it, right? So it is moving past that particular thing that is going to scare you, and having the courage to move on from it is really important. Also holding yourself accountable, learning from your mistakes and learning from them and not making them again, right? We're all human, so it's really important to to learn from the mistakes, as well as being genuine and authentic. I think that in a leadership role, being genuine and authentic, as mentioned before, it's really important because people can vibe off of that, right? When you are genuine, and people can see that you have their best interest, it just completely changes the relationship with whether it be a customer or whether it be an employee or someone or a colleague. Having that genuine intention is really key. And lastly, you never really know who's watching. Your name, you working may leave an imprint in someone's mind, right? Whether you are a leader or whether you are leading a project, you just never know who's watching. That may lead into a future opportunity for you as far as a career is concerned. The hospitality business, while it's big, I think the networking pool is small, and just leaving that impression that you're a go-getter, you're passionate, is really, really important. And that will leave an imprint with people, and they will remember you. So it's just really important to be passionate and ambitious and have courage. And if you adopt to those things and find your own voice in your own way, leadership you have so many opportunities. So it's a great journey to be on.
I really like what you said about people are always watching. It actually ties in yesterday during our recruiting panel.
Mm-hmm.
One of our recruiters said, when you're going in for an interview, everyone's interviewing you. It's not just the person you have the appointment with. It could be the person at the front desk. It could be the person in the parking attendant. And it's the same thing with, at work. Someone in the room could be your future manager, could be your future employee.
Yeah.
Everybody's a reference for you. So I love that. All right, now we're going to go back to Paula. Paula and I were discussing this earlier. We are both very involved with women's leadership here at Oracle. And one of the pieces that we always talk about is the lack of women in leadership roles. So Paula, according to the AHLA, which is the American Hotel and Lodging Association, many of us are familiar with, they published a report in 2020, which says that women hold only 12% of hospitality industry leadership positions as of 2019. Paula, why do you think our industry lacks women in leadership positions?
Okay, so I told Courtney before, I need a month and a week to actually bullet point all the reasons why. This is a very long list. But what I thought it was interesting is that the question asked what I thought. And I was like, I cannot just create an assumption. Of course, I do have a basic assumption of why there's no women in leadership in hospitality. But I went and did some research, and just basing on the research globally, it's not only in hospitality, it's everywhere. So we, of course, we do have some industries that women are thriving in leadership, but there's still a long way to go. And I feel that there are two instances that we can point out. One is the structural, I wouldn't say sexism, right? I would say the structural patriarchy, or even that it's how you say, for example, let's give men and women the same opportunities. However, women are most often responsible for the chores of the house and children, and they are afraid of taking more risks or taking higher positions because they know that it will affect their family dynamics. So why can't we also provide I don't know, like childcare or anything for the male side of the relationship or the other partner side of the relationship that can balance that out, giving them the opportunity of choice? So I would say providing more assistance to the side of the family, to the side of the human side of the employee that you have in the company helps a lot for women to feel free and comfortable to take these opportunities. The second part of it, so okay, like we have already this vision and structural part of what can the industry do possibly on that side. And also with training and so on, to see women as equal, as empowered, and as capable as possible. But on the other side, I'm not going to blame women. I'm going to blame the structural culture that all women came from. And they say, oh, Latinos are sexist, Asians are, the whole world suffers of sexism. The whole world suffers of somehow a level of women being less or undermined or having to respond to a level of expectation towards society, right? And that means that boys are raised since they are kids to be bold, to try, to go and get it. And women are always looking and being responsible and doing the right thing all the time. If you see a position that you can only fulfill 70% of the requirements of that position, a man will go and be like, okay, I'm applying. A woman normally wouldn't. She'll be like, I don't feel comfortable going through this. And please don't judge me because I'm generalizing here a lot about men and women. And I'm not saying all men are like that or all women are like that and everybody suffers of global sexism. I'm just saying that the question is, why do you think there's not a lot of women in leadership today? And I will say fear of taking risk is one of them. Fear of moving forward is one of them. Fear of being responsible for too many things and then think that that can actually impact their home life, it's another. Another thing is that women can actually be great. Who doesn't know someone at work that every time at lunchtime they say like, I know exactly what this GM should be doing. I know exactly what that person should be doing. I know exactly what that manager should be doing. I know how to save this company. However, they never say it out loud to the right people, right? The fear of expressing themselves, of being shut down, or being cut out, that should end. You should try. Speak once. Or if you're afraid of speaking, just do it. And someone will see the result and be like, how did that happen? How's that better? someone took the action. So don't be afraid, be bold. Sometimes taking that extra step will actually bring you to a whole new world of possibilities in a way that you can help and be useful at your job in ways that you didn't know about. Negotiating your salary. Women often are afraid of negotiating the salaries to a better one or asking for promotion because they think that they're going to receive a no right away. And one thing that I'm going to say is that the no you already have, if you ask, you may get something else. So it's all about trying. And one of the things that I heard a lot, and also that I read a little bit, is that companies and bigotry and so on, it happens mostly from male. But I must say that female women also bring that to the table. You know, like females and non-male behavior people bring that to the table a lot. In a way that I say, today, as a leader, if I see a designer under me thriving and studying and trying to be like me, I'm going to do anything I can to bring them to be me. And I'm going to be as proud as I can. Before, and I can say about 10 years ago, if I wanted to reach a level of a leadership like another woman that I had, they would have this aggressive behavior to be like, no, I'm already here. You don't need to be here. Stop fighting each other, lift each other, you know, like train each other, bring each other to the same level as you are, be great together. And instead of like creating this, I would say, invisible fight or war that it never existed before. Let women thrive with you. If you are a female leader, allow other females to thrive with you. If you are not a female leader yet, try to find ones that you can actually cling to and be like, can I come with you? And I'm pretty sure they are going to embrace you and so on. So if you see behaviors that could be changed, old school behaviors, call them out in a very nice way, but call them out. If you see that there are some politics or laws in the company that you work for that are a little old school as well, bring them to the table. Make sure that you're trying to change. I have, for example, my team to study unconscious bias, to study diversity and so on. So everybody feels comfortable with everybody. I have an international, multicultural, multiracial, and multi-religious team, and I need everybody to feel like a family, right? So not everybody had the liability of growing up in a very structured and a very well understood environment where you could learn the right things. So teach them, enable them, make sure that people around you respect each other. If you hear those little jokes here and there, just stop it. So little things can help the company culture to enhance and be better. For that, if you be courageous, create confidence in yourself, apply for things that you wouldn't think that you would be able to before. Believe me, you can do this. If you think that you can do this, if you had just the slightly thought of looking at the job title, you can apply to it and do it. Let the recruiter decide if you are good for that job position or not you deciding for them before anything happened. And once you are a leader, lift everybody with you. Don't put them down. Don't make yourself in that position that you are king or queen and everybody is under you. I think it's something that leadership today is all about, making sure that everybody's embraced together. So that's why I bring to the table these two sides. Companies should definitely enhance their politics and their possibly some approaches towards how women and men are dealing with their personal lives. That way they can thrive together and be comfortable to have this work-life balance. And also women, make sure that you can. I'm just saying, you can. If you're here listening to it, it's already like a huge step. You can.
Thank you, Paula. I knew you would have a passionate answer to that question. And what I really loved that you said is not only, being successful and becoming a leader is not just being bold yourself, it's also building a community and giving support to other people. And I think Thrive, the organization that we're partnered with for this panel today, is the perfect example of that. It's women from all across the industry joining together, supporting each other, and coming together to promote leadership and to promote our advancement in this industry and in all industries. Tashi and Desiree, did you have anything that you wanted to add to that?
I'm going to take a note from Paula on that one and just say copy paste, I think.
Perfect.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with Paula. I like her passion in what she was saying. So absolutely agreed. I think that she did mention a key word. I think family, right, is when you treat your team as a family. I think that makes an impact as well, and lifting others. There's room for everyone, right? So
Yeah, and I think actually to build on that for just a minute, I think it's interesting that leadership today is about the whole entire life, right? It's not about what's happening just in the organization, but it's being thoughtful about what the team around you is going through and their whole entire holistic pieces of their puzzle, and knowing about that and caring about that. I think that's a big piece of, you know, how to show up every day, and which is hard. That's not easy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, in the same vein of leadership, you know, one of the things that we've discussed before and that many of us already believe, so there's this common misconception that leadership and management are one and the same. You know, that to be a leader, you have to be a manager, or if you're a manager, you're automatically a leader. Tashi, I'm going to give this one to you. What do you see as the biggest difference between being a leader and being a manager?
Yeah, good question. And I like that we're talking about this, because I think it's important to note that if you are not managing people, that doesn't mean that you are not being a leader, right? So I think both are very critical to the success of an organization and of a team. In my mind, a leader is the one or ones that are setting the vision and you know, really trying to create a culture of inspiration and influential activities and conversations that people can really get behind and follow and emulate. And, you know, kind of that bigger purpose of, why do I get up and sit in front of this computer all day? Oh, right, I've got that vision that somebody is continuing to reinforce, and I believe in that vision and where we're headed. On the part and parcel to that, from a management perspective, it's, okay, I believe in that vision and I'm going to help execute it with this group of people. So they're kind of taking that ball and running with it from a more tactical perspective. So again, you need both, but just because you're a manager of people doesn't mean, in my mind, that you've kind of almost earned that leadership title. You very well could have, but I think that there's a lot of trust in how you're inspiring and influencing those around you, and kind of organically seeing that come to life to really be able to put that leadership hat on. Would you guys agree? Is that something that resonates with you guys?
Yeah, 100%. And particularly with my journey, right? It's being that, not managing people and then kind of morphing into that and accepting that responsibility of being responsible for a team. I think that's really important. So agreed. Yeah.
I even remember in my very early days of my career, I was very focused on customer satisfaction. In account management, I was an account manager for many years, and being a great account manager allowed me the opportunity to be the manager of the account managers. And I was all in on customer satisfaction, because that was what filled my cup when a customer was really excited about what I did, or they needed me because I was the cool special one, right? So it took me a while to realize that, okay, employee satisfaction also important, because I was all about the customer, and I would kind of leave the employees behind. And it took some tough tough scenarios and situations to be like, okay, time out. Okay, it's not just about the customer. It's
Yeah.
about the employees, how I'm helping them be successful and how I'm taking their livelihood into account and going back to, it's not everybody's like me, and remembering that, I
Yeah,
need to be thoughtful about what's important to them and how what fills up their cup and
Yeah.
being.
And that's a huge shift too, when that happens, when you realize that you are like, you see your brain just shifting. Oh, all right. It's not only my business objective, but it's everyone else who's along following the train. Right. So, yeah.
Yes. And making time in your day to the point where it's a priority for you to touch your employees in a meaningful way. Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all for your amazing answers. We do have a couple of questions coming in from the Q&A. I want to remind everybody, we still have about 20 minutes. So if you have any questions you want to ask our panelists, please go ahead and put them in the Q&A. I am going to ask the first one from Allie. How do you build trust with the people that you're managing to make sure it goes both ways? And any of you can answer that one.
I can take a stab at it. So I am particularly, when I mean lead by example, I know it sounds a little corny, but I think it's true, right? It's leading by example is I would never ask my team to do something that I wouldn't do, right? That's really key because and I equate that somehow to like being a mother, right? Setting the example and really is, I wouldn't, right? And it's a relationship between an employee and a manager. It's a trust, right? That trust that you have to build. So number one, I wouldn't ask my employees to do something that I wouldn't do. I roll up my sleeves and you get hands-on, right? Because supporting them, I think it's really important. And then once they see that, once they really truly see the genuine approach, right, that you take, that changes the relationship, I think. Also is if they bring up something to you, right, whether it could be the simplest thing, right, it could be an issue in a process or an issue that they're having, is acknowledge it and do something about it. I think once your employees and your team, once they know that they can rely on you, that builds up more trust. So, yeah.
I can add to that. So I totally agree on that. And also I feel that telling them the truth all the time matters.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what question they come to you. I feel that being passive aggressive or not answering completely, or just, like avoiding to answer a question or avoiding a situation just creates really like, what am I here? Why am I not getting the information that I'm looking for? Sometimes the answer that you may have is not the best one, right? But still you have to give them. And like Desiree was saying about being there and supporting them as much as you can, right? Making sure that when they're saying something, they're being listened to and you take action when something needs to happen, right? And also provide feedback when feedback is needed in a way that is constructive and not degrading. They feel comfortable coming to you all the time for more feedback. And especially if you bring to the table more things that they could have access before. If you present to them more areas of knowledge that they had access than before, they can see that you are investing on them somehow, and they will show you the difference on that. I think that also micromanaging is really bad for trust, because they feel that you are not giving them the freedom, that you are trusting them with the job. And what I tell my team is that when I get micromanaging style, that's when you have to worry, because it means that I gave you several chances of doing this by yourself. And for some reason, you're not getting there. So I need to step in and help you somehow. But sometimes I've seen several people like being there on the neck, and this is definitely something to try to avoid.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, I think that actions speak louder than words, right? So it feels counterintuitive, but allowing your employees to stretch and even, fail and be okay with that. And because you trust them to be in this situation without being overshadowing them, because they got that. And even if they got that and stumbled, they still got that. They still had that experience and grew a little bit. And you trust that it's all for the right reasons, right? So I think that that's a big piece of it. And I also think transparency and knowledge share is pretty important. For me in my past, that's helped build trust of my leaders when they take the time to share information that they probably didn't need to, but it was really helpful for me to just understand the full context of what's happening in the business, or where the challenges are, or where, what are the priorities, and just taking that time to have that type of conversation just builds trust that, okay, they are trusting me with this information, and I can now build the trust because I know that they're going to share information that I need to know to be successful in my job.
Awesome advice. Thank you so much to all three of you. Let's go on to our next question. This one's pretty interesting. Do you ever feel like you hold yourself back or self-sabotage? Paul is saying yes, yes. Paula, do you want to expand on that?
I think that self-sabotage, sometimes you do it for the sake of others, because you work in a team, and then you have to ponder, it's like, for me to get to the point that I want, I'm gonna have to walk over these people. And you go like, why am I doing this? Or you feel that even though your decisions are gonna be great for X part of the group, at the end of the day, it's not gonna be great for the other X part of the group. So you have to hold yourself and always have that little devil and angel talking to you all the time, like, what should I do? What decision should I make? But I think mostly is about, do I speak the same way when I'm talking to my manager and when I'm talking to my employees, or when I'm talking to the GM, or when I'm talking to who, do I sound more submissive? Do I sound more constrained? And that is something that changing your personality to adapt, it is somehow a level of self-sabotage as well, because then people under you see you as very strong, but people above you see you as very weak, because you're just afraid of positioning yourself. Also, I feel that sometimes being a manager, there's a lot to take on personal relations with your employees. So they do have to go through sometimes very tough situations in their lives. Sometimes is abuse, sometimes is a disease, sometimes is death, and sometimes is financial needs. And in your guts, you do have the answer for all those, and you want to help them, but are you going to ponder yourself and just be a manager? Are you going to, what is the deal with it? And I feel that that's when I hold myself a lot, and I do some self-sabotaging, relationships mostly.
Being new to Oracle, I think that, I have found myself holding myself back, only because, there's this interesting dynamic of trying to not worry about what other people think, but inherently worrying what other people think, right? and that's where I always come back to being authentic and true to my values. And just like Paula was saying, if I show up and with that in mind every single day and be that person every single day, then that holding myself back kind of gets put on the back burner. But it's always this just wiggling thought of, ooh, should you go there yet? Have you built enough credibility that you can actually, go there and it's okay kind of thing. So certainly the angel and devil, I've talked about that myself for years. So I totally have one of those myself. So yeah, that's a tricky one.
And just to give feedback from my side on self-sabotage, I think for my self-sabotage is just having those boundaries, I think along the lines with relationships and with your employees. I think also is how much is too much help sometimes, right? At least for me, because I'm in the training and development area. For me is I want to jump in right away and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then you're like, no, let you figure it out. Here is your checklist, or here it is. And that for me is a fine line. And I sometimes I just give in, right? And I'm like, okay, let me walk you through this when they are. So that for me is a big one that I'm still learning, to be honest, and growing in that area. Yeah.
You know, it's interesting because the self-sabotage and holding yourself back, it reminds me of another very popular term that I actually only recently learned, which is imposter syndrome, which like almost everyone experiences this feeling of, you know, am I good enough for this? You know, am I, you know, should I really be in this position? Or, you know, certainly it can even relate to personal situations as well. And I think a big part of it is just acknowledging that it exists and being self-reflective and looking at different scenarios and saying, okay, am I hurting myself in this scenario? You know, could I be behaving differently? Could I be helping myself instead of sabotaging myself? So I love those answers. Thank you so much. We have a few more questions. We have just under 10 minutes left, so I think we can probably get to most of them. One question was, is the session being recorded? And yes, it is. So if you joined late, not to worry, you can still get all of the amazing wisdom from our 3 panelists from the recording. One of the questions here is, do you think age is a barrier when developing as a leader? Sometimes it feels like whatever you haven't achieved before 40, it's too late. And then with a winky face. So, I mean, what do you all think about that?
Oh, you know, it's funny. I'll start this one. I was actually thinking about this a couple of weeks ago because I think that I was kind of alluding to it earlier, just like that customer satisfaction was so important for me early on. And I think that the experiences and the situations and the people that I've had an opportunity to interact with have made me better. And so I think that, gosh, I can't even imagine so much. There's so much more learning that I can do. And there's so many resources out there to tap into that I feel like I'm just at the beginning of my leadership journey. And there's no barriers. I feel like no barriers at all. That being said, you have to make it a priority to, you know, be thoughtful about, okay, how do I want to show up? What are my values? How do I want to inspire? What does that look like for me? And really know what that is for you. But then sky is the limit, and there's no stopping us.
I'm gonna add to that. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, all right. Well, no, I wanted to just echo that. I think looking back at the leader that I was in my first retail job to what I am now, I'm such a different person. You know, you learn from all of that transformation that you go through, and you're better now than you were back then, right? Fresh off college, so it is you grow as a person, and that translates into your leadership. And I'm not going to give them my age, but I'm maybe close to that number over there, that attendee note. But yeah, just my input.
I think I've learned when I observe leaders, they are very young. So centennials, you know, like leaders, people on their 18s, 20s, leading teams, leading nonprofits, and also comparing their style of leadership to Generation X and so on, right? The way that they approach things, the way that they talk to people is so much different from every leadership book that I've read, of every leadership meeting that I've been. And I know that these are going to be my future clients, right? And these are going to be my future co-workers. And I feel that they are so great at what they do, so young, that I feel that ageism, it is like Toshi and Desiree was saying, it's good to have a baggage of knowledge and experiences, you know, like what you've done, so you know how to deal with them in the future. But taking a look at what people are doing now as well, doesn't matter their age, even children, how they play on the playground, and be like how they communicate with each other and how they're sharing things and so on. I feel that those little leaders are going to be teaching us a lot. So I don't believe in ageism. I believe that or you have it or you don't. If you try too hard, you can actually achieve it, but mostly or you have it or you don't.
I think that brings up a good point, Paula, in terms of being agile and open-minded, right? Don't get stuck in your ways, because just because that's the way you did it last month, last year, yesterday, doesn't mean that's the best way to do it tomorrow and next year and next month. So really keep that top of mind. I think that's important.
Absolutely. Well, then I think that's a pretty good answer for our question. No, age is not a barrier. All different ages can be leaders. We actually had someone put into the chat that leadership is formal and informal, and that informal leadership can happen since an early age, which Paula, I think you alluded to. There's all different types of leadership. And I really, what the point that you make about gaining all this experience over time and consistently, learning more and gaining this wisdom that can make you an even better leader, certainly that just grows with time. Okay, we have time for one last question. I am going to, let's see. Oh, this is an interesting one. As a woman in leadership, do you have any tips for being in an environment where you are often the only woman at the table? And I think since we all work for Oracle in the technology sector, where women are still vastly underrepresented, I think you probably all have a good answer for this one.
Can I start on this one?
Sure.
I worked as a consultant before as well, so I can say that I've seen it all. So first of all, make sure that you heard. If you feel that you're not being heard, repeat, call them out. As I said before, as I implemented, as I noted, and give credit to others, but always remind them you share on the conversation. Find allies, right? I had so many allies working with me, men and women, right? That if you feel that someone is not being listened to for whatever reason it is, because they are too cute, because they're too blonde, because they're too young, because they are whatever, just say, like that person said, like she said, like he said, like I said, and let them also bring to the table the opportunity of bringing you back. Hey, Paula, the thing that you were saying before, can you add to that? Hey, Desiree, the thing that you just mentioned that this guy just added to, can you complete to it? So find allies, talk to them before. And I'm pretty sure that this situation won't be gone for a while. So you often will see yourself in a position like that. But remember, if you get gaslighted, interrupted, ignored, whatever it is, bring it to the table again and again. And if you feel that the conversation is not moving forward, maybe that is not the table that you should be in. And if you feel that you need to escalate it, go for it and escalate it. But I would say that sometimes living abusive relationships at work as well, when you feel that all the time this is happening too much, maybe it's time also to move on. Respect yourself on that matter.
I think the one thing I would add to that is have an opinion and voice it, right? So I think it's very easy to feel a little bit intimidated when people around the table don't look like you. But if you have an opinion and show up and be confident, that really makes a difference, and put your stake in the ground around that.
And just to add before we drop, I think it's, finding your voice, take it as a challenge versus an intimidation. I think, one person can make a change, and be that person that makes the change, and take it on as your mission. And once you believe in it, once you have your mission, and you are going to be unstoppable. So I think that's great. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Desiree, Paula, Tashi. This has been a fantastic panel. I want to thank you again for participating. I want to thank everyone who joined us today. The session will be recorded, so we will be sending that out. And I hope everyone has a great rest of the day, and please feel free to join our third panel tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.